大家好，歡迎收睇今日嘅節目啊！呢個節目咧繼續同大家講下 PMQ Prime Minister Question， 即係講下英國國會咧今日嗰個激烈嘅辯論啦。咁啊，國會唔係休會期間咧，就逢禮拜三晏晝12點鐘都會有個辯論嘅。呢個辯論啊，顧名思義 Prime Minister Question 啦，都有 Prime Minister 有首相喺度。咁啊，暫時呢個首相咧就係辛偉誠啦，所以每個禮拜咧都會見到佢啦。另外咧，佢嘅對家施紀賢啦，仲有 Stephen Friend 啊，仲有其他嘅國會議員咧，都會出場嘅。一陣咧會同大家睇睇。今日英國天氣咧相當之凍喎，我西南部呢邊咧落咗成朝雪啊。咁啊，而家咧都未停喎，咁啊地面啊草地上面積咗雪啦，路面上面咧佢啲雪落咗地咧就即刻溶咗嘅，咁啊變咗水啫嚇。唔知你嗰邊係咪咁樣咧嚇？大家不妨咧都可以講下啲天氣啊，咁喺留言嗰度講低。不過天氣咧就好凍啦，但係今日國會辯論咧就相當之激烈喎，非常之熾熱啊！大家討論氣氛咧真係好勁啊！今日嚇，咁啊同之前啊早幾個禮拜有一次阿澤連斯基到訪嘅時候咧嗰次非常之和諧嘅氣氛咧截然不同啦，兩個世界。今日咁激烈嘅討論咧，其實係得一個話題啫嚇，就係呢個船民嘅問題啊！咁啊，今朝早同埋琴日朝頭早咧，我同大家交代過英國最新個船民政策。咁咧絕對咧就即係非常之惹火啊！咁所以無論施紀賢Keir Starmer 啦，同埋呢個 Stephen Friend 咧，即係蘇格蘭民族黨領袖咧，都係咧即係針鋒相對。咁啊，其他議員咧都有發言嘅，不過咧就一啲就關於地區事務啦，有嗰啲咧就係講個婦女節啊，即係咪自己俾人拍賣嗰樣嘢，嗰個就幾搞笑啊！不過咧就嗰啲就唔係一個主要嘅討論話題啦，所以咧我就唔仔細講啦。咁不過咧，今日婦女節咧都其實有好多議員開波嘅時候咧，都用婦女節開波喎。一間你都會聽到施紀賢同埋呢個 Stephen Friend 咧都係用婦女節去開波。咁啊太仔細嗰啲部分咧就唔講啦。我主要咧都係即係同大家睇一睇片，跟住咧就會簡單解釋下咧究竟佢哋講緊啲乜嘢嘢嚇。而今日咧就其實咧嗰個發言係相當之熾熱啦，即係有啲有少少人身攻擊添啊！即係我嘅題目大隻講versus 呢個係左膠律師啊，即係就係施紀賢就話辛偉誠係大隻講啦嚇，佢就冇一個字去鬧佢嘅。不過咧即係你用廣東話傳神啲嘅翻譯咧都可以咁講啦。咁啊調翻轉辛偉誠咧就話施紀賢咧係左膠律師 leftist lawyer 啊。咁啊點解會咁樣講咧嚇？一陣咧大家好快就會睇到啦。咁咧就唔阻大家時間，一齊咧同大家睇睇片啊。咁咧就呢個開始嘅係
Now comes the leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And today, on International Women's Day, we celebrate the successes of women in our society. It's a crying shame that as we do so, we face legislation which drives a coach and horses through our world-leading modern slavery framework, which protects women from exploitation. Mr. Speaker, in the last decade, this government has introduced 5 plans to tackle illegal immigration, 5 utter failures. The problem just gets worse with every new gimmick. The Home Secretary says the public are sick of tough talk and inadequate action. Does he agree with her assessment of this government's record?
好，通常第一個問題咧都係即係比較簡短一啲嘅。咁施紀賢咧亦都係就婦女節開波啦，咁咧就話即係都恭賀咧就婦女嘅成功，咁咧但係咧就好遺憾啊，即係政府而家咧就係對於呢個 Modern Slavery Act 啦，即係有個改動，亦都係即係呢個船民政策裏邊咧嘅一個改動嚇。咁咧就講話即係保守黨政府過去13年咧，即係搞咗5次啊呢個即係處理船民嘅問題啊，咁啊5次咧都失敗喎嚇。咁亦都係引述翻咧，就柏菲文講嘢喎嚇，即係柏菲文咧即係個 Home Secretary 啦，即係內政部大臣啦，就話即係公眾人士咧，對於而家就係齋講就完全唔足夠嘅行動咧，都覺得好感到討厭啦咁咧就去問下辛偉誠你係咪同意佢嘅講法咧嚇？咁睇下辛偉誠咧點樣講。
Well, Mr. Speaker, what the honourable gentleman fails to recognise that there is a global migration problem. We are not alone in facing these challenges, and it is precisely because that across Europe the numbers escalating to the extent they are, we have brought forward new plans because we are determined, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that this remains a compassionate and generous country, that is done fairly and legally. That's why we will break the criminal gangs, Mr. Speaker. We've announced new agreements with Albania and France, tougher immigration enforcement, and now new legislation that makes it clear that if you come here illegally, you will be detained and swiftly removed. But, Mr. Speaker, what we haven't heard is the Honourable Gentleman's plan. We know what it is. It's open-door immigration and unlimited asylum. Whilst he may be on the side of the people smugglers, we're on the side of the British people.
咁啊，辛偉誠咧就反擊啊，咁啊就話呢個移民呢個難民嘅問題咧、船民嘅問題咧，都係一個係全球問題嚇，即係唔係就係英國面對嘅。咁啊，歐盟咧嚇，歐洲咧都好多政府咧都要面對啦，即係有戰爭啦嚇，即係敍利亞、阿富汗，跟住而家最新嘅烏克蘭啦嚇。咁咧就因為咁樣咧，所以佢而家就推出一個新嘅計劃出嚟嚇。咁咧就會有一個比較強硬嘅一個執法行動。咁啊，新嘅立法咧就會講，如果你係即係非法入境嘅話咧，你就會被扣留，而且咧就係會係 removed 都唔知點翻譯啊，即係會被請走嚇，請移離呢個英國嚇。咁啊點樣移離咧嚇？即係你可以睇翻我之前講過啦嚇，即係其實都冇知嚇。咁咧就去批評咧，就工黨咧就話工黨咧就係想要一個就開放門戶嘅入境嘅係入境政策，亦都咧就話係無止境啊，即係一個係庇護難民啊，佢又咁樣講工黨施紀賢啦，睇下工黨施紀賢咧跟住第二條問題問佢啲咩咯喎。
Mr. Speaker, if he was serious about stopping the boats, he'd actually steal our plan on stopping the boats, smash the gangs, sort out the returns, and clean up the utter mess. Mr. Speaker.
I'm going to hear this, and nobody's going to... I wouldn't if I were you. But I think we've heard enough. I want to hear the questions and the answers, and it won't be interrupted. Here's Sam.
Mr. Speaker, nobody on this side of the House wants open borders. On that side, they've lost control of the borders. Now, he's promised the country that this bill will stop all small boat crossings. No ifs, no buts. Sounds like more talk. So in the interest of adequate action, when will he achieve that?
咁啊，施紀賢咧就係反駁啊，就話即係工黨咧嚇，即係保護個邊境嘅，反而咧就係保守黨咧就做唔到呢件事啦嚇。咁呢度咧都要解釋翻一樣嘢，咁啊其中咧就你見到啲議員咧都係即係起哄啦嚇。咁咧就其實我哋咧睇電視嘅朋友咧就都聽得清楚施紀賢講啲咩嘢嘅。不過當時咧可能嗰個環境下邊咧就下議院議長何立新咧嚇。咁啊，因為太嘈咧，都打斷咗部分保守黨議員即係後座議員嘅一啲係呼聲啦嚇，咁啊，所以咧即係中間就斷咗一下嚇。咁啊，跟住咧其實咧都仲有幾下嘅話，今日何立新咧佢都唔係幾好老皮啊，即係兩邊啊，無論保守黨啊、工黨啊兩邊咧，即係都係即係請佢哋嚇，即係唔好咁嘈嚇，咁啊又話請係加即係去飲杯茶咁樣啦，係嘛？咁咧就跟住嗰幾次打斷嚇，我都唔會再仔細講噶啦。不過大家習慣一下就係咁嘅情況。嗱，施紀賢咧嚇，佢第二條問題就問翻阿辛偉誠啊，喂幾時嚇你先至可以達到呢個係停止所有呢個係艇仔過呢個英倫海峽嘅呢個目標咧嚇？睇下辛偉誠咧點樣答佢啦。
Well, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we'll be implementing this plan as soon as we can pass it through Parliament. So I look forward to the honourable gentleman's support. But the reality is, Mr. Speaker, on this issue, the honourable gentleman has been on the wrong side of this.
Prime Minister, Mr. Stafford, if you don't want to hear him, you can go and have a good cup of tea, nice and strong, I suspect. But I will hear him, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman has been on the wrong side of this issue his entire career. He described all immigration law as racist. He said it was a mistake to control immigration. And he has never, ever voted for tougher asylum laws. It is clear, Mr. Speaker, while he's in hock to the open border activists, we're on the side of the British people.
咁啊，辛偉誠咧就佢係有答佢嘅嚇，咁啊好簡單啦個問題，咁啊即係施紀賢問佢幾時嚇就會有個結果啦，咁佢就話係當呢一個法案呢一通過咧嚇，一盡快通過嘅話咧，咁咧就會見到個結果噶啦嚇。 咁佢咧就利用呢個機會咧就批評工黨施紀賢喎，話佢咧就喺整個人生嘅生涯裏邊咧都企咗喺呢件事上面咧嘅錯誤嗰方面喎。咁佢咧就話施紀賢即係曾經就係即係形容所有嘅係移民法案啦都係一啲係種族法案嚟嘅嚇。咁同埋咧辛偉誠咧就話施紀賢咧即係從來咧就冇投票支持過呢一啲強硬嘅執法強硬嘅一啲係移民法例嚇。咁睇下施紀賢咧點樣講啦。
Mr. Speaker, when I was in charge of prosecutions, I extradited countless rapists, and the conviction rate for people smuggling was twice what it is today. I voted against his legislation last time because I said it wouldn't work. Since it became law, the numbers have gone up. He's proved me right. He should be apologising, not gloating. The Prime Minister says they will detain people who aren't eligible to claim asylum here and then return them. Well, they already tried that under the last legislation. Last year, 18,000 people were deemed ineligible to apply for asylum. That's the easy bit, the talk. But as for the action, Prime Minister, how many of them have actually been returned? Mr.
咁施紀賢咧就話就係反駁翻一句先因為辛偉誠咧就話佢係一個係喺呢件事上面啦，即係一個係左膠律師咧，即係大咗咁嘅意思啦，好似未講到呢句嚇。咁咧就係喺呢段裏面就佢跟住會講啦。咁咧總之話施紀賢咧即係從來都未受一啲係強硬嘅一啲係入境法例咧，就係投過一啲贊成票啦嚇。咁施紀賢咧就話咧，當佢做呢個 Director of Public Prosecution 以前工黨執政時候咧，佢係做過嘅嚇。咁咧如果中文譯咧就係公檢嘅總長啦嚇，公檢嘅監督啦嚇，總督咁樣啦嚇。咁佢咧就曾經就係遞解咗無數嘅強姦犯而且咧就係對於偷渡人蛇偷渡嘅一個係成功檢控個案咧就係2倍於而家喎，即係而家咧就得翻當年嘅一半嘅啫。咁佢咧就問辛偉誠啦，第3條問題啦，就問辛偉誠。咁上年都好多人咧就係確定咗就係唔可以係得到呢個難民嘅資格啦。咁即係因為上年通過咗一條叫 Nationality and Border Act 咁如果直譯咧就係國籍與邊境法啦咁咧就好多人啦已經好似係即係有8萬人就係即係確定咗就係唔符合呢個難民嘅身份啦咁究竟有幾多人咧係被遣返咗咧？去問下辛偉誠睇下辛偉誠點樣答。
Mr. Speaker, as a result of the plans we brought forward, we have almost doubled the number of people returned this year. But he talked about laws. He talked about.
I think the front bench needs to be a little quieter because I want to hear, and I don't need you joining in. I'm going to. Our constituents want to hear the importance of Prime Minister's questions, both the questions and the answers. Show our constituents the respect they're due. Come on, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, he asked about arrests, he asked about our laws. Actually, when I was in Dover yesterday talking to our law enforcement officials, what did they tell me? Precisely because of the law that the Conservative government passed last year, they have now been able to arrest more than double the number of people they did before. 397 in the last 6 months. But stopping the boats, Mr. Speaker, stopping the boats is not just my priority, it is the people's priority. But his position on this is clear. He wanted to, in his words, scrap the Rwanda deal. He voted against measures to deport foreign criminals, Mr. Speaker, and he even argued against deportation flights. Well, and we know why, because on this matter, he talked about his legal background. He's just another lefty lawyer standing in our way.
跟住辛偉誠咧就係喺呢一段裏邊咧就係話施紀賢咧左膠律師佢話咧就係遣返嘅人數咧係double 咗，即係比之前倍增啦。咁但係邊個學位開始計啦咁佢咧就話佢琴日去咗 Dover， 即係東南部一個城市咁咧就當地嘅官員同佢講，咁咧因為政府通過咗嗰條法例，即係 Nationality and Border Act 咧咁而家可以檢控嘅人數咧就係比之前就多咗1倍啦咁佢咧就批評施紀賢咧就話曾經就係想即係呢個係 取消呢一個即係唔通過呢個同盧旺達相關個法例啦，即係將船民遣送去盧旺達個法例啦，亦都咧就反對咧就係嗰個遞送船民去盧旺達即係個航班啦。咁所以咧最尾個結語咧就係話喂佢咧即係阿施紀賢係一個左膠律師 ，leftist lawyer standing in our way 喎。阿施紀賢咧睇下跟住點樣講。
We'll continue. When you keep shouting, it prolongs, and some of you are trying to catch my eye. When you're disappointed, I don't want any complaints. Let's get through these questions so we might get some backbenching.
Mr. Speaker, all that nonsense because he doesn't want to answer the question. Because he knows what the answer is. The number is 21. I thought he was a man of detail. 21 people out of the 18,000. And what happens to the rest? They sit in hotels and digs for months on end at the taxpayers' expense. Last year, he promised to end the hotel farce. That's the talk. But because of his mess, there are thousands of people who can't claim asylum and can't be returned. So where does he actually think they're going to end up?
首先咧就我糾正翻頭先講嘅嘢先嚇，咁啊頭先上一段咧施紀賢講嗰個咧就唔係8萬係18000嚇，即係講錯咗嚇，咁咧就係話有18000人咧而家就係確定咗就冇難民身份嘅嚇，咁啊上一條問題咧阿施紀賢就問阿辛偉誠究竟有幾多個人係已經被遣返咧嚇，咁佢咧就話辛偉誠唔肯答佢啦嚇，咁咧就佢幫手答呢個問題啦，咁啊原來咧都18000人裏面咧得21個人咧係已經被遣返嘅啫嚇。咁佢咧就跟住喺呢一條問題裏邊咧就問阿辛偉誠嚇，咁啊究竟而家新嚟嗰啲咁你一個計劃究竟即係你會將佢哋就點樣安置咧即係點樣去喺即係點樣去揾個地方安置咁多人咧睇下辛偉誠咧點樣覆佢。
Speaker, he talks about the pressure on our asylum system, right? We've actually got a clear plan to stop people coming here in the first place. Mr. Speaker, Labour have absolutely no plan on this issue because they simply don't want to tackle the problem. We introduced tougher sentences for people smugglers. They opposed it. We signed a deal with Rwanda. They opposed it. We are deporting foreign offenders as we speak. They oppose it.
Order. I'm going to say to the member from Hull, save that good voice for the rugby match. You might be able to join Mr Stafford over that strong cup of tea. Prime Minister.
Speaker, in fact, he opposed every single step of what we've done to try and stop this problem. In fact, his only contribution to this debate, well, we know what it is. In his own words, what did he say? We will defend free movement. That's the Labour Party for you, Mr Speaker.
咁辛偉誠咧就反擊呢個施紀賢咧，咁就話工黨咧根本就喺呢件事上面係冇計劃嘅，因為工黨咧根本就唔想解決呢個問題。咁亦都話施紀賢咧即係總之即係政府想做啲咩咧，佢都反對嘅咁咧就亦都話即係工黨施紀賢咧就應承咧就係去呢個保衞呢個係自由嘅行動喎，自由嘅 free movement 喎。你呢句説話咧即係。大家聽到，咦 free movement 唔係好嘢嚟嘅咩？係嘛？咁但係點解會攞呢個去批評人哋嘅咧咁原因咧就係喺保守黨嘅立場嚟講咧 ，free movement 就唔係好嘢嚟嘅，咁所以亦都因為有 free movement 咧，所以先要脫歐啦咁以至於工黨咧，其實佢公開嚟講咧，補充一下，就工黨咧都冇話就係贊成 free movement 嘅即係呢一樣嘢咧都好奇都係即係同保守黨一樣即係都話會唔會要上關都係咁嘅政策。咁所以咧佢就即係因為之前工黨有咁嘅講法啦，咁所以辛偉誠咧就用呢樣嘢去即係抨擊施紀賢即係就話佢喂你咧就你個口之前又話唔係贊成 free movement， 而家咧就係去呢個維護呢個 free movement 聽下施紀賢跟住點樣講咧。
Mr. Speaker, he stood there last year saying exactly the same thing. We said it wouldn't work. They passed the law. The numbers went up. Absolutely deluded. He can't say where they'll return people because they spent 140 million on Rwanda and it doesn't work. They can't say how they'll return people because this bill doesn't come with a single new return agreement. And they can't say when they'll fix the mess because it's more talk, more gimmicks, more promises to be broken. Now, a few months ago, I put to him that of the people who arrived on small boats, only 4% had been processed. He stood there and said, that's unacceptable. What's the number now?
好，施紀賢咧就問咗個好清楚嘅問題啦。咁佢咧就話阿辛偉誠咧嚇，即係講咗好多嘢，上年講咗好多嘢嚇。咁啊，工黨咧就話唔得㗎啦，嗰啲嘢係唔掂嘅 ，would not work 嘅嚇。咁啊，不過咧政府都依然就通過咗嗰條法例啦，即係講緊上年嗰個 Nationality and Border Act 啦嚇。咁啊，跟住咧就通過咗法例之後咧，呢個船民咧個問題咧就係擴大咗喎，即係船民人數有增冇減啊嚇。因為上年應該係400-5千幾啦，今年頭嗰2個月咧已經去到3000啦，係啊，越嚟越多嚇。咁亦都批評話，即係而家新嘅方案都係唔 work 嘅嚇，因為都冇新嘅 return agreement 咧，冇遣返協議，都唔知啲人送去邊嚇。咁亦都即係亦都有好多問題喺度啦嚇。咁佢又冇講ECHR 嗰樣嘢喎，不過咧即係我都有啲奇怪，不過咧就佢冇講啦。咁咧就佢問嘅問題點樣問咧？今次就係話，咁咧就話幾個月之前啊，辛偉誠自己話，即係而家嗰啲係申請個案裏邊咧嚇。即係嗰啲船民嘅申請難民嘅身份個案裏邊咧，就係得4%係已經係處理咗嘅啫。佢話呢個情況咧絕對不可以接受。咁啊，施紀賢咧就問辛偉誠：喂，之前就4%啊，而家究竟係幾多咧嚇？睇下辛偉誠點樣覆。
Mr. Speaker, as a result of what we've done, there are now 6,000 fewer people in the caseload of asylum backlog. We're hiring more caseworkers. We're increasing their productivity. And again, he's mistaken when it comes to returns, Mr. Speaker, because we do have returns agreements with India, with Pakistan, with Serbia, with Nigeria, and crucially, now with Albania, where we are returning hundreds of people, Mr. Speaker. But look, our position on this is clear. If you arrive here illegally, you will not be able to claim asylum here. You will not be able to access the modern slavery system, and you will not be able to make spurious human rights claims. That is the right thing to do. But he's going on and on about process, hiding behind process, because he doesn't want to confront the substance. We are the party of fairness, and he represents the party of free movement.
咁啊，辛偉誠咧就話而家係等候嗰個申請嘅個案咧嘅人數咧係即係下降緊嘅嚇。不過你一間再聽埋施紀賢講先啦嚇。咁咧亦都係即係反駁翻就話而家冇一啲遣返嘅一啲係協議。咁佢話有㗎啦，印度啊、巴基斯坦啊、塞爾維亞、尼日利亞同埋阿爾巴尼亞。而阿爾巴尼亞個好重要嘅，因為咧而家係已經遣返咗咧數以百計嘅船民嚇。咁佢咧就呢一個問題嘅結語咧就話保守黨係一個係公平嘅政黨嚇，即係 Party of Fairness， 而工黨咧就 Party of Free Movement 啊，即係一個係自由活動嘅一個係政黨嚇。睇下跟住咧施紀賢咧就繼續點樣係。
I thought he was supposed to be the man of detail. He's gone to all that lengths to avoid the detail. He knows the answer to the question. Less than 1% of those arrived by boats have been processed. He shakes his head. It's the government's own statistic. On his watch, processing of those boat cases has gone from unacceptable, in his words, to almost non-existent. And doesn't that tell you everything you need to know? After 13 years, small boat crossings higher than ever, claims unprocessed, the taxpayer paying for hotel rooms, criminal gangs running all the way laughing to the bank, and an asylum system utterly broken on his watch. This is their 5th Prime Minister, their 6th immigration plan, their 7th Home Secretary, and after all this time, all they offer is the same old gimmicks and empty promises. Now, I don't agree with the Home Secretary on very much, but when she says that the Tories are all talk and no action, she's spot on, isn't she?
咁啊，施紀賢咧就首先自問自答先啦。頭先問咗辛偉誠嚇，之前又話4%都不可以接受，咁究竟而家個數字嗰個情況係點樣咧嚇？咁佢答翻自己咧就係話，原來而家係得1%嘅啫，少過1%嚇，即係嗰啲船民啊嚟到英國之後，佢哋嘅申請咧少過1%，係已經係獲得處理啊！其實都幾慢下喎，即係我都唔係好理解咧，點解可以咁慢嘅咧嚇？係咪有啲咩原因？點解要處理啲個案要咁耐嘅咧嚇？咁咧施紀賢咧就話呢啲數字咧即係官方數據啦，咁啊即係政府啊就係即係喺度搞堅密啦嚇，咁亦都係即係Soraya Barferman 啦，柏菲文咧就話係all talk no actions 嘛， 咁咧就即係佢話佢都平時都唔係好贊成啊柏菲文講嘅嘢，不過呢一點咧佢就即係好同意喎 ，she spot on 喎嚇。咁佢話咧就係成個制度啊，即係喺辛偉誠嘅政府下邊咧，即係完全咧就係一個係一個爛嘅制度啊！睇下辛偉誠點講啊
Mr. Speaker,
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, illegal immigration enforcement up. The amount of people processing claims up. The backlog is down. The number of returns agreements is up. Hundreds of people return to Albania, and now new laws to detain and deter illegal migrants. It's clear what we stand for, Mr. Speaker. We're doing what's right. We are acting with compassion. We are acting with fairness, and we are acting to respect the laws and borders of our country. We are delivering what we said, and it's crystal clear listening to this, Mr. Speaker. It's going to be the Conservatives and only the Conservatives that stop the boat.
咁啊，呢條咧就係施紀賢嘅6條問題裏面最後一條啦，咁所以咧就你可以話當係辛偉誠嘅一個結語啦嚇。咁佢咧就用啲好簡白嘅講法咧，就係俾大家聽到嚇，即係enforcement 啊，即係個執法係增加咗嚇，即係處理呢啲係難民申請嘅人咧係增加咗。咁咧就係一啲遣返協議咧增加咗嚇，即係幾樣嘢噏嘅嚇。咁咧就保守黨係唯一一個政黨咧可以係即係控制到呢一個船民嘅問題。好啦，咁啊施紀賢同埋辛偉誠咧就火拼去到呢一度啦。喂，大家有咩 comment 咧？不妨咧就喺有咩問題，不妨有啲意見咧，不妨喺留言嗰度講低。咁啊跟住咧就跳去咧就係蘇民黨啊，蘇格蘭民族黨嚇。咁咧就話 Stephen Friend 啊，咁咧就係佢都有啲嘢講下嘅。咁啊，不過咧都係講下船民問題喎，即係冇辦法啦。今日咧呢個最熱嘅問題咧，都係要聽聽嘅。聽下 Stephen Friend 點樣講啦。
SNP Leader Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, on International Women's Day, can I ask the Prime Minister to reconfirm that under his proposed new asylum laws, a woman who is sex trafficked to the UK on a small boat by a criminal gang will not be afforded protection under our modern slavery laws?
咁Stephen Friend 咧嚇，即係開波就係用翻呢個婦女節啦，國際婦女節啦嚇。咁咧就係，但係其實個問題咧都係講緊船民問題嘅。佢就話嚇，即係叫辛偉誠即係確保一下一個問題嚇。如果啲性奴嚇，即係 sex traffic 啊，即係如果係一啲係即係被綁架或者係即係被要挾嚇，即係嚟到英國做係性工作嘅人士嚇。咁咧就而家嚇英國咧有一個 Modern Slavery Act 啦，就即係現代奴隸法例啦嚇。咁咧其實本來係有個保護嘅。咁去問下辛偉誠喺呢個新嘅呢一個船民政策下邊，咁咧究竟呢啲婦女嚇，即係呢啲被綁架或者挾持做係嚟到英國做性奴嘅人咧嚇，咁咧係咪唔會得到保障咧嚇？睇下辛偉誠咧點樣講。
Mr. Speaker, it's precisely because we want to target our compassion and our resources on the world's most vulnerable people that we must get a grip of this system and break.
Can I just say to the SNP, it's quite right the questions are asked, but I also want to hear the answers. Shouting from up there is not helping anybody. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, it's precisely because we want to target our resources and our compassion on the world's most vulnerable people that we need to get a grip of this system, make sure that we have control over our borders, make sure our system and resources are not overwhelmed so that we can help the people most in need. There is nothing fair, there is nothing compassionate about sustaining a system where, as we saw recently, people are dying on these crossings. That is not right, and our plans will stop that from happening.
咁辛偉誠嘅講法咧，就簡單嚟講就係話政府係一個富有同情心嘅政府嚟嘅 compassionate 嘅嚇。咁咧就正因為政府係有呢方面嘅取向，咁所以咧就唔可以就容許而家呢一個係偷渡嘅情況咧持續嚇。因為偷渡咧就會導致啲人石油發達啦，咁啊跟住咧亦都係即係令到成個生意模式持續啦嚇。咁咧就老實講咧，佢就冇直接答Stephen Friend 嘅問題嘅，不過佢嘅意思就係咁樣啦。咁跟住咧 Stephen Friend 咧就有追問。
Donald, I don't need to hear you chunnering all the way through. You can be joining the others for a cup of tea. Come on, Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, I'll take that as a yes from the Prime Minister that women who are the victims of sex trafficking will not be protected under our modern slavery laws. What a complete and utter disgrace, Mr. Speaker, but whilst it may shock, it shouldn't necessarily surprise, because this is the Tory government that in recent months has spoken of invasions. Just yesterday, this was the Tory government that said that 100 million people could be coming to these shores. And this is the Tory government that this morning said that number could in fact be billions. Complete and utter nonsense. So may I ask the Prime Minister, from whom are his government taking inspiration? Nigel Farage or Enoch Powell?
咁啊 ，Stephen Free 咧就話當啊辛偉誠答咗係㗎啦，係嘅意思即係話咧就係性奴咧唔會喺呢個新嘅法例裏邊咧得到保障嚇，咁咧就係即係當即係呢個新法例咧就即係唔能夠再對一啲性奴咧有個係可以根據呢個現代奴隸法咧容許佢哋可以以難民身份咧就留喺英國嘅嚇。咁佢話咧就繼續就批評政府啦，就話有人就係即係其實有人即係拍緋聞嚇，咁咧就係話會有1億人咧就係會嚟到英國嚇，咁啊完全咧呢個 nonsense 係完全都唔合理嘅，咁佢就講嚇。咁佢問啊，即係辛偉誠喂邊個咧即係啟發咗你哋咁樣講嘢啦 ？Nigel Farage 啊，定 Enoch Powell 啦嚇 ？Nigel Farage 我諗咧大家有跟開時事都知地邊個啦嚇，即係好大個口啦，即係就係而家 Reform UK 嘅創辦人啦，應該咁講嚇。咁咧就當年嘅一個係導致英國Brexit 啦，你當係 Hard Brexit 咁啊都成日講嘢㗎，而家都仲係。咁 Enoch Powell 咧，我諗就比較少人就認識啦。咁咧就中文叫以諾鮑爾喎，即係冇一個正式嘅中文名嘅，一個即係短雅啲嘅中文名嚇。咁佢咧真為咧就係其實佢最高級咧都係做過衛生大臣嚇，亦都咧就係喺在野嘅時候咧，保守黨在野嘅時候咧就係成為過影子國防大臣啦。咁啊點解佢Stephen Free 會提呢個人咧？因為咧係當年即係口出狂言啦，就係1968年發表咗個爭議性嘅血河顯説啊，咁咧就反對嚟自其他英聯邦國家嘅移民。哇，其實呢樣嘢咧同香港好有關係喎，即係原來呢個 Enoch Powell 啦，即係應該當年都包埋即係香港㗎啦嘛，應該係。咁咧就因為佢發表咗呢個咁有爭議性嘅顯説咧，就當時俾希斯咧就愛德華希斯咧就革除咗做影子內閣嘅影子國防大臣嘅職務啊，咁所以咧就睇翻呢個人啦。聽啊，辛偉誠點講
And what a load of nonsense, Mr. Speaker. What a load of nonsense. No, in fact, the figure of 100 million, it doesn't come from the government. It comes from the United Nations, Mr. Speaker. And it illustrates the scale of the global migration crisis that the world is grappling with, which is why it is right that we take action, Mr. Speaker. Because if we do not, the numbers will continue to grow. They have more than quadrupled in just 2 years. It's a sign of what is to come, and our system will continue to be overwhelmed. And if that happens, we will not be able to help the people who are most in need of our support, our generosity, and our compassion. This has always been the way of this country, and once we get a grip of this system, that's who we can extend our support to, and that's why it's the right legislation.
咁啊，辛偉誠嘅講法咧就話1億人咧就唔係英國政府嘅數字嚟嘅，而係聯合國嘅數字。不過咧，我覺得呢樣嘢咧就大家睇下點樣演繹啫。聯合國意思就係話全球有1億嘅難民，咁就唔係話有1億人咧就會去到英國。咁但係咧Suella Braverman 咧拍緋聞嘅意思就係話呢1億人咧好快就會嚟到英國㗎啦。They are coming 嚇，即係佢即係咁講嘅嚇。咁所以咧即係咁樣算唔算有啲誤導咧嚇？即係我都覺得係有少少問題嚇。咁跟住咧就講所以 Stephen Free 都好唔客氣啦，即係話Stephen Free 就形容佢 nonsense 啦，佢就話呢樣嘢唔係 nonsense， 即係如果唔再制止嘅話咧，就每年以倍數上升係嘛，咁所以咧就好快咧就真係有好多船民咧就會嚟到英國㗎啦。咁佢就話咧，如果政府控制唔到呢個係呢個庇護者嘅系統嘅話咧，咁咧就佢亦都冇辦法咧可以保護即係有需要嘅人士，咁佢就咁講啦嚇。咁呢個咧如果就咁聽咧就好似合理嘅係咪啊？即係非法入境咁非法啦嘛係嘛？咁但係問題咧，作為一個難民有啲咩方法可以合法咁樣就去進入英國去申請難民咧嚇？咁其實係冇嘅嚇。咁我都睇過之前咧，今朝或者琴日之後都有留言啦，都有人嚟講啦，喂非法入境即係唔俾佢入境好正常咁，但係英國咧又係承諾咗係話會接收難民嘅喎。咁但係原來呢個制度裏邊咧即係而家最新嘅法例實際上做嘅情況咧就係話。如果你非法入英國嘅境內咧，你就唔能夠呢個係申請成為難民你要合法入嚟先得。咁但係咧，事實上咧，有冇一個渠道咧，俾人咧去申請一個合法去入英國咧，成為一個難民喎嚇？ 當然可能有啲免簽證嘅國家都得嘅，咁但係你有啲免簽證國家，嗰啲國家通常都唔會去申請，有需要申請做難民啦，係咪啊？除咗香港之外，咁咧就如果真係話可以係申請一個係難民資格入英國咧，係得3個地方係可以嘅啫，就係阿富汗、烏克蘭同埋香港。咁你唔睇呢3個地方咧，就即使敍利亞嘅人咧，其實而家一個敍利亞難民咧係冇辦法可以咧就係申請嚇，就係進入英國去成為一個難民嘅嚇，係冇可能嘅嚇。咁嘅即係究竟而家最大嘅爭議就係咩？咁你既然又冇一個合法嘅途徑俾人申請，咁非法入境咧嚇，即係又唔可以申請喎。咁即係其實你即係話唔俾人哋，即係其實即係唔接收難民啦。即係簡單嚟講就係咁，呢個咧都係聯合國難民署就批評英國嘅一個地方啦。咁呢個咧就係稍微澄清翻一個觀點啦。咁我今日咧準備時間就係講到呢度啦，睇睇大家有冇 comment 啦。大家比較靜少少啊，唔緊要，係多謝大家就收睇啦。英國船民會唔會發生由其他國家偷渡嚟英國事件？而家咪就係發生緊咯，所以先要處理呢個問題啫嘛。好啦，嗱，今日咧嘅 comment 咧都睇完啦，咁麻煩大家臨走之前咧撳翻 like 先。如果你對英國船民問題啊，或者對於今次 PMQ 有啲咩意見或者問題嘅話咧，不妨喺留言嗰度寫低喎。咁另外咧，如果未訂閱胡思頻道咧，記住撳翻個訂閱個掣，撳埋個鐘仔啦。咁下個禮拜3再同大家見面啊！下個禮拜3應該下一次會議啦嚇，下一次 PMQ 咧再同大家講啦，拜拜。